Ask the Mayor, your chance to ask the Mayor of Weymouth, Bob Hedlund, questions about the town of Weymouth and or anything else that you have concerns about. Ask the Mayor is pre-recorded. And now, here's Bob Hedlund.
Hey, welcome back to another edition of Ask the Mayor. My name's Jim Melody. I'm your citizen advocate and inquisitor. And as always, I'm happy to co-host with the boss, the mayor, Robert Hedlund. How are you today, Bob?
Great, Jim. Thank you.
Dynamite. We thank everybody for tuning in as always, and we want to remind everybody, please keep the questions coming to askmayorbob@gmail.com. There's no range or boundaries, Mayor Bob. Anybody can ask anything they want, can't they?
I want to open up, Jim, with a little trivia question for you. I was down at Level Field, part of our field improvement program.
Really exciting.
11.5 million town-wide improvements. No additional cost to the taxpayers in terms of managing our existing debt service line item.
Dynamite.
People often bring up the issue of, you're fixing the field up and, why is the money going towards that? Well, we haven't increased spending on our capital plan. We're just managing the dollars better, refinance some of our debt, that kind of thing, and I don't want to stress that. But it leads me to my trivia question. Do you know the name of the contractor that won the bid and is doing the work at Level Field?
Shaughnessy.
I'll give you a hint. It was same name as a very popular TV show, which can often be seen, or used to be seen, on rerun on WSBK TV 38, and it starred Eddie Albert and Zsa Zsa Gabor.
Well, for devotees of Ask Mayor Bob, coming off the final moments of our last episode, you teased, and I would have gotten it without all these extra hints, because once you said Eddie Albert, it's got to be Green Acres, baby. Is it Green Acres Construction?
It is.
What a great name.
I got an idea, too. So when we have our ribbon cutting at the new facility down there, which will be in November, would you be willing to come down, since you are the troubadour of Weymouth, would you be willing to come down with your guitar and sing the Green Acres theme song?
Can I bring my kids? Because we sing all those TV theme songs when we go on road trips. Everybody knows it. I'd be honored to sing that song.
All right. And you're going to broadcast the dedication, right? Excellent.
May I bring...
Stay tuned for that one, folks.
And I have a pet pig named Arnold at home, too. I don't know if you know that about me. I've got several farm animals in the back.
I heard you hang around with Mr. Haney.
One of the best TV shows of all time. The kids don't have those shows these days. You should see what they watch. You know what they watch.
It was clever, but I wouldn't put it in the category of the best TV show of all time.
Well,
anyway.
Remember all those shows when we used to get home from junior high and grammar school that were on? We could name 50 of them. Now the kids, there's only one place to go, the Disney Channel.
Or the video games.
Yeah, or video games,
anyway,
for sure. Okay.
So you got some questions this week,
Yeah,
Jim?
I do. As a matter of fact, this first one's going to take a little bit of time, but I think it's worth it because, as always, there are no boundaries here at Ask the Mayor. Hi, Mayor. I was happy to see that.
Hi.
I was happy to see that the Mutton Lane Antique shop that's left out. I was happy to see that the Mutton Lane Antique was saved through a Board of Zoning Appeals exemption. My question is about potentially saving other antiques in town. Weymouth's history is important. Unfortunately, the Historical Commission's demolition delay has done little to reduce teardowns. Is there a way to incentivize homeowners to keep up their antiques so that they don't become victims to opportunistic developers who will pay short money and then tear them down? Are there things we can from learning from, dare I say, Hingham in terms of saving older homes? Any grants from the state that we are not taking advantage of? Let's use Mutton Lane as the impetus to address our historic housing stock. What do you think from your favorite local historian? I forgot that big issue with that home that guy was preserving, correct? That's the Mutton Lane property he's referring to?
Right.
That was big doings and a good story, wasn't it?
Yeah, so this is like a multi-part question.
Yeah.
Quick, in reverse order, I guess. Yes, we have availed ourselves as a community for grants for historic preservation. There's a historic preservation grant. The state administers, Secretary of State. We were successful in utilizing that, I think, for work at Fogg Library, so that's a good example of that. It's obviously a municipal building. I agree with the quote from your favorite local historian. That could be anyone. I'm not quite sure. I have a few favorite local historians. Would this be Ted Clark writing this question? Who knows? I can think of a few other potential anonymous people that would have called themselves that. But yeah, I don't think we've done as good a job throughout history. You know, we are the second oldest town in the Commonwealth.
Third in North America, as far as we know.
Right, and I think if
Jamestown, Plymouth, Weymouth.
Yeah, I think you're right, maybe.
I am.
And I think if you drove around town, you wouldn't get the sense that we're the second oldest community in the state.
Good point.
You go through Hingham and there's a little more, as the writer of the question points out, there's a significant amount of historic preservation. Don't want to compare ourselves to Hingham on everything, but we could do a better job, and we're trying to do a better job. She mentions or he or she mentions the demolition delay bylaw. The house on Mutton Lane is actually the first house in the history of the town, I believe, that has been saved through the use of the demolition delay bylaw.
Can you explain a little bit more on that? I read that clumsily because I wasn't familiar with the phrase. So it's a demolition delay. If somebody wants to tear down an old house, they have to come and see the town?
Only if it's on the list. The town put together a list, working with the Historic Commission, of architecturally or historically significant homes that are subject to the delay. So if a house is on that list and a developer comes in and wants to do something to that house, it triggers that delay. It's a cooling off period for the town to look at it, whatever. That's what happened here with the Mutton Lane project. The Mutton Lane project isn't going as smoothly as we had hoped, but so far the developer has been cooperative in the process, but we're watching what happens there very closely. I can tell you, even though that's the only one technically that's been saved through the demolition delay bylaw, I can tell you that we just had an incident, and the planning department has been, and building department to a degree, have been very cognizant that we want to make a concerted effort. I've told them that we want to make a concerted effort for historic preservation whenever possible. And we just had an example on Commercial Street. I forget now the age of the home, but one of the more, one of the older homes in town, developer came in, it was subject to the demo delay bylaw, but the structure was so far gone, and with each, it has to be inspected by the building department, and there's a process they have to follow. It was determined that the house could not be saved. But the developer, in working with us, actually recreated almost 100% to what had been there. And if you look at, he resurrected and pretty much saved the character of what had been there. In that case, that was Mr. Ryder, and I can't think of the address, but if you're coming out of Wharf Street, take a right on a Commercial, it's just after the bend. You blink, you don't know it's there. But the house, I think, went back to the, I don't know if it was late 1600s, early 1700s. It's late 1600s, I think. It was quite old. And he did a great job in, recreating the character of what had been there. So that's an example where I think it also worked, even though technically it wasn't saved to the letter under the demo bylaw, but it worked out pretty well. And you don't hear about, those instances.
As you said, there was a variety of kind of inquiries involved with this question, but among them, and finally, was any grants from the state that we are not taking advantage of. Could an individual homeowner apply for the grant, or would it be the town that applies for that grant?
For the historic preservation, I don't think it's for individual homes. I'm not sure off the top of my head what would apply in the case of an individual homeowner, but.
Okay, interesting.
But obviously, in the case of the Mutton Lane, it was a highly publicized case before the Board of Zoning Appeals. And, we made concessions to give the person, the inducement to make the investment in the existing house. He could have, under our existing zoning, theoretically torn the house down, put 2 new houses up. So what we did was work with him. He got a variance in order to put the 2 houses up on the site, and obviously have to expend a lot more money to bring that existing antique house up to snuff, if you will. So.
You mentioned from the anecdotal evidence file, when you drive around Hingham, you do seem to see a bunch of older houses, but in Weymouth, Quincy, Braintree, I don't see as many. I don't know, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but that list of houses that are, to be preserved.
I think Braintree you can find
long?
some, but Quincy, in neighborhoods,
it's all
their
zoning.
zoning.
The last 100 years.
We're trying to protect neighborhoods. We think density is appropriate in certain overlay districts, but I don't know what the zoning is in Quincy. It seems like you drive down a residential street and I lived in Quincy at one time. A street that I was on, beautiful single-family house is gone. This big thing up on stilts with parking underneath, and they're really changing the residential character of some streets over there. But that's my editorial comment for that.
Sure. Sure. Well, it's interesting, and I think I speak for almost everybody. To save as many of the older homes, I think would be fantastic for the community and the town character.
We hope to. So,
Well, that's
with what's left anyway of the inventory.
Yeah, as you said, they seem to be going pretty fast. All right. Well, thank you, Mayor Bob, for your insight as far as that's concerned. We've got a different train, different track here
A lot of
altogether.
anonymous questions today, I see. I mean, you got Mr. Stat or Stat, or
Yeah,
what was his name, but we seem to have a lot of anonymous, which is fine, but we really like the ones where they tell us who they are.
Keep those cards and letters coming. Once again, remind everybody to send those inquiries to askmayorbob@gmail.com. And even if you ask me to obscure your name, I usually make a mistake and read it out loud anyway. Maybe that's why people are sending them all in anonymously. Who knows? Well, Mayor, my question today has to do with our schools. What is your role on the school committee? Are you involved in the school building committee? Do you have any insight as to where the new middle school might eventually be sited? I didn't know we were talking about a new middle school. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I do. And do you believe that an override will be needed to pay for it? Thanks for the opportunity to send in the questions. I really enjoy your programs. A concerned resident.
Another multi-part
Yeah.
question. My question has to do with our schools. What
Well, do you want to start at the top?
What is your role in the
school
school committee?
You're a member of the school committee board, right?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out what my role in the school committee is.
Well, I'm glad that concerned resident wrote in.
No, I mean, I'm a member of the school committee. The school committee is the policy-setting body for the schools.
How big is that group, the school committee? Is it a board? Is it a group of 100 people? Or, I mean, roughly.
What do we got, members? We got
I think there might be 7.
7 members. I know 3 are up for
And they're elected, yeah.
Yeah, 3.
Okay.
Well, I serve by virtue of my position. The rest are elected. I know there are 3 seats up this fall. We are the policy-setting body for the school department. So we review all proposed policies, et cetera, approve the school department budget, if you will. I mean, it's initially finalized by the town council and submitted by the mayor, but
And they were real happy
that's the
this year,
short
weren't they? You
that's
gave them a lift of a couple percent, didn't I read that in the paper?
well, we've got almost 10% roughly increase over the last 2 years since
Oh,
I've been in
wow,
office.
fantastic.
And we're not relying on free cash to backfill and meet net school spending requirements. We're moving in the right direction. What is your role on the school committee is the second part.
Well, your role in the school committee was the first, as you explained, by virtue of you being the mayor, you are by default on that committee.
I answered that one. Am I involved
Wait a minute,
in-
are you the 7th member or the 8th member, out of curiosity?
one of the 7.
One of the 7, okay. So are you involved in the school building committee?
Yes, I serve on the school building committee. The
Separate committee altogether from the school committee?
Yeah, this is a committee that I appointed. It's chaired by my chief of staff, Ted Langell.
Okay.
It's a very large committee, so we won't get into naming everybody that's on it, but it's a very diverse committee made up of residents, educators, for instance, principal of the middle school, superintendent, various, as I said, town residents and various town staff.
And you appointed
with
all those?
expertise, yes.
Okay.
So, yes, I'm involved in that committee. Their work is proceeding, and I want to thank WETC, who has been televising the committee's meetings. So we're trying to create a very open, transparent process. We received a very nice compliment, or I received a very nice compliment recently from our consultants, Hill International, who we selected, or the committee selected, as our consultants on this project. And I asked what they thought of the turnout recently of the public information meeting we held at Chapman, the workshop, and they said it was very good. And I said, how does it stack up against, something that you would do in a Newton or a Wellesley? Or he goes, actually, and I forget the community, but a much more well-off community than Weymouth. He said our turnout was better, and he said, you should know that of any of the projects we've worked on, you're running the most open, transparent process we've ever been involved with. So that was a very nice compliment
quite a
from them.
compliment.
So this
Good to
is
hear.
going to be your new middle school if we're successful in this endeavor.
Replacing Chapman.
We encourage you to participate. The third part of the question.
Do you have any insight as to where the new middle school might eventually be sited?
I don't have any insight, and I don't want to prejudice the process, and one of the things that the consultants do in going through this process is look at site location, so there's an evaluation process. I will say that we are somewhat limited in our options here in Weymouth, given the fact that we're 98% built out. That is the statistic that we are. It's accurate. We are 98% built out. We don't have a lot of open space. There's not a lot of virgin territory that we can say we're going to put it there. Obviously, one area of town where there is virgin territory is Southfield, Union Point, excuse me. But geographically, that's probably not a desirable location for a middle school at the other end of town. It wouldn't be too convenient from North Weymouth to get to Union Point every day.
20 minutes.
So I don't have insight in, I mean, obviously the existing location is one of the sites that's being evaluated, and I would say that there's probably a number of factors that would, put that highly, highly in the mix.
So,
and the fourth one?
but just out of curiosity, if you picked a separate location from where Chapman is located now, would that be reused for public administration, or just
It would be whatever. I mean, part of this process is we have to look at, and one of the reasons I'm encouraged by this process is looking at our grade structure and grade realignment, and that's part of this whole evaluation that the consultants work with us on. What is the building going to look like in order to fit with what we want to accomplish with grade alignment? And I personally, and I talked about it, it's not anything new, I talked about it in the campaign, that our current grade structure is not the most desirable grade structure to have, in my opinion, in fostering the best possible education environment for our kids. But we also have limitations based on what we have for existing grammar school inventory and such. So that's part of this whole mix and part of this whole evaluation and calculation.
So how would the grades break down in your revised structure?
That's what I'm trying to say is that's part of this. As we look at the middle school and we factor in what we have for grammar school inventory, that's what we're going to try to address. How would I prefer it?
Yeah, just out of curiosity, yeah.
I mean, I don't think taking every fifth grader in town and lumping them together is the best environment. That's my opinion.
No,
I like a more traditional structure, but this was done based on the it was economics that drove this realignment that we currently utilize at the time.
It seems unique.
It's not the optimum situation to have, and that's what part of what we're trying to do with this middle school is try to address that.
I've got a kid in 3rd and 6th grade here, and the Weymouth structure definitely seems unique as you talk to
Correct.
parents and other. I didn't realize. I thought that was a uniform thing that the state administers.
No.
So every town decides on their own.
No. And there was a fourth part of that.
The first part, do you believe
and I am not the citizen advocate, but you were going to
Not at all.
You're going to shortchange the
most
questioner.
important part. Do you believe that an override will be needed to pay for it? Everybody always comes down to the money.
Right.
Do you believe an override will be required?
Well, bear in mind, Weymouth has never passed an override of any form, whether it be a debt exclusion or operational override. The new high school at the time, back 99, 2000, whatever it was, 2000, was done without a debt exclusion override. Then Mayor Madden was able to finance that through our debt service by bonding that. We are going to obviously, as we go through this process and get to the point where we need to figure out a way to pay for it, we'll look at that as an option. And if we don't have the ability in our capital plan, and everything we do now, by the way, on our capital spending plan is with an eye towards, trying to keep some capacity for this potential eventuality and funding the school. But it could be that we don't have the ability and we would have to go to the voters for a debt exclusion override, or it could be a combination of both, where we are able to bond some of it and make up the difference through a smaller request as a debt exclusion override.
You talk about capacity in the schools. We mentioned on the prior program what a great job WETC did broadcasting the latest high school graduation, but I was surprised to see the graduating class was in the approximately 450 person range, which when I graduated at Weymouth North in '78, we had about that many. In my graduating class, I think South was almost the same. So the school, the base of students has been dropped dramatically.
It's good you were watching that.
Yeah, they did a tremendous job. Yeah.
Hogan's Heroes rerun mixing up and on that day on WSBK.
Oh, I sent a letter and I was pissed that they knocked off Hogan's Heroes. But no, they did a great job. And again, the class size, I couldn't believe it was closer to 600-700 kids. So all relevant factors as you look to build new facilities, needless to say. Okay, we have actually a questionnaire who identified themselves. And as always, we want to continue to remind people to send those questions into askmayorbob@gmail.com. Christine from South Weymouth. Dear Mayor, I notice a lot of arguments online about dogs park and poop. Is there a town ordinance for picking up after a dog? How is this enforced? Does Weymouth have a dog park? If not, are there any plans to create one? Mayor Bob, take it away. Is there an ordinance that citizens must pick up that poop? I hope so.
I think I know we have a leash law, and I believe we have an ordinance with a fine of $100 for not picking up after your dog. And I know that it was enforced recently by our dog officer, and the woman that was the person who was fined went online, admitted to it, but complained about the process. And there was a lot of feedback. And actually, I think having that discussion on social media, on one of the Weymouth social media sites, was helpful in enlightening people that, gee, we do have this ordinance and we do have this law.
I hope so.
As far as a dog park, the town does not have a dog park. Hingham just changed and revised the leash law regarding Bear Cove Park, so take your Weymouth dogs, go over to Bear Cove, and let them poop in Hingham.
What happened over there? I go there all the time.
That would be my official stated policy as mayor. But seriously, this
What happened there? Any changes?
What,
I go there.
Can I answer the question,
Yes,
then you
please.
can do your follow-up?
Okay.
So, first of all, yes, we have a leash law. It's not good public health policy to let your dog run around kids' playing fields. Because when the dog does defecate, it has the potential of causing health issues in little kids, the same way geese droppings could affect kids who are playing on the fields. So that's a pretty common sense thing. We do allow dogs in our parks, but we have a leash law. That's been in place for a long time. It's not anything I put forward. We have a dog officer who does take the law seriously and does a great job trying to enforce it, but he's only one person.
Is that Mike Parker?
Mike Parker. And the only dog park in Weymouth is at Union Point, which is owned and run by Elstar. So there is that opportunity. If you are a dog owner, you want to meet dogs, other dog owners, you can go there. Or there is a state option, which in North Weymouth we have Stotter's Neck. It's actually on the Hingham side of the river, just over the bridge in the back river. Stotter's Neck is a DCR property owned by the state. That was never technically and officially a dog park, but it evolved into that, and DCR now considers it officially an off-leash dog park. Now, some dog owners like a little more privacy because that's become very popular. Some dog owners like the camaraderie of having their dog meeting all the other dogs. And the spillover has occurred into Hingham at Bear Cove Park. And there's been a big debate in Hingham over what's appropriate. They never had a leash law in there. Their rule was if your dog's aggressive, have him on a leash. And it became the Wild West over there. And the selectmen, the police, and everybody else got on the same page, and they changed the leash law. Some residents went to town meeting and got it partially overturned. So that's why I made the offhand comment. You're looking for a place for your dog to run wild. They allow off-leash on certain days there, and the dog can go poop over there. And I was over there. I was over there 2 winters ago, and I was repulsed by the amount of dog feces in that place. I think some dog owners think that when there's snow on the ground,
it's okay.
You don't have to pick the dog poop up. It's unbelievable. When the snow melted over there, it was nasty.
I
but anyway, that's Hingham's problem, and that's
I don't know what to say.
That's like a civil war over there.
Okay.
I'll tell you a very quick anecdote, Jim, and then let's do some rapid fire in the questions. I went down to Duxbury when I was state senator to make a budget presentation, and rarely is there a full house at a selectmen's meeting in these towns. And the place was standing room only, packed. So I got done with my presentation. The board said, well, we have the senator here, and would you take questions from the audience while you're here? And I said, happy to. Anyone has any questions about the state budget, education funding, et cetera, et cetera. I turn around, I get 200 blank stares. And I hadn't looked at the agenda, so I left and I said, I'm really curious what's next on the agenda. I went and looked at the agenda, and it was a discussion to ban dogs on Duxbury Beach. So all the dog owners were there. So nobody cared about the state budget, funding for schools, but they were very concerned and motivated to show up at a selectmen's meeting because their dog was going to be affected. No editorial comment attached to that. I'm just stating a fact. Don't send me any nasty letters.
On that
I love
note,
dogs. I love apple pie. I love children.
He's got an
No
American.
letters.
He's got an American flag on his shirt. For heaven's sakes.
Let's get to some questions. We got
what about
quick.
quickly? What's the West Augusta Beach rule of the town as far as getting dogs in West Augusta? Is that copacetic or
No, they're not supposed to be on the beach.
Oh,
It's
keep
a
them off
beach.
the beach too. Okay.
Same thing in Hull.
Yeah.
They have the same rules just about in every community.
Yeah. Okay.
People ignore it though at times.
There you go. Okay, hey Mayor, you were once very active in replying to Facebook comments, but lately you haven't had much to say. What gives? Ground control to Major Tom is our questionnaire. I don't make these up. I just read the questions as they're presented to me. You're not as active on Facebook? I'd be surprised to hear that. You're a social media guy.
Is he ground control or is he Major Tom?
I think he's out there floating in his tin can.
Who did that song, Ground Control to Major Tom?
David Bowie, of course.
I hated that song. But I liked
You're a rock and
the one that
roller.
came out in the 80s that reminded me of it, Major Tom. Peter Schilling, what was that song? Earth below. Oh, you know that one? Help me out here. Look it up for us before the show ends. So yeah, I was very active in replying to Facebook comments, but I've learned after a year in this office that I use Facebook very, very frequently to communicate, to get information out, but it doesn't make sense to get dragged into a discussion that's never ending and goes in a circle. And I will just started to preserve my sanity and make use of my time more efficiently. I try now to only answer the same question a few times, not like 15 times. And I think people look at the posts, but they don't read the comments often. And they see the post and they'll react to the post. But if they read the thread, they can often find the information. And you asked me a question in the last show about the Volkswagens at Union Point, not to open that blister up
Can of worms, yes.
but because I know you're very passionate about that issue. But if someone would read the thread, that thing, for instance, has been answered probably 100 times now on even one particular same site. So, and that's even going beyond what's been reported in the papers and elsewhere. We have time for one more quick one.
Listen,
Rapid fire.
just a quick review of another big issue, the relocation of the WETC from their dial position. It used to be on Channel 11, now it's on Channel 8 from what we understand. And could you explain real quickly again why that happened? Do you recall Mary's comments?
We opened the last show with that, and I'm getting the signal we're out of time, but that was a Comcast decision. That's the short answer, and not anything WETC wanted to do, not anything we wanted to see happen because people are accustomed. I can go to Channel 11 without looking at my clicker. I know where that 1 is, but 8, I always hit the wrong button, so I'm not happy about it, but it is something we had no control over. That was a Comcast decision.
Well, you know and I know wherever we may be on the dial position, you will find Ask the Mayor and Jim Melody and our Mayor, Robert Hedlund, on TV any moment in time as you're flipping through the channels. But if you want to reach us directly, please, once again, askmayorbob@gmail.com. Keep the questions coming. We're heading into the summer season. Any big vacation travel plans, Mayor, for the summer at all?
Nothing really planned, no.
You'll be local. We'll look forward to seeing you around town. You'll see me on the streets of Weymouth as well. And once again, please keep those cards and letters coming. Stay tuned for our gang.
What?
Our gang. Spanky, Alfalfa.
I don't know if that one was on 38 or not. I'm not sure. Peter Schilling, Major Tom.
We wouldn't want to close out without offering that valuable information. Have a great day, everybody.
If you have a question, please email the mayor at askmayorbob@gmail.com. That's askmayorbob@gmail.com. Maybe your question will be answered on the next episode of Ask the Mayor.